The fair folk, fairies, the fae, just like humans, can range from valuable allies to dangerous, terrifying menaces. My family holds a deep history with both sides of these mystical beings, long working hand in hand with some, while actively hunting down others. Some of the more kind among them assist us to this very day against our remaining enemies, thanks to a long-held bond with a Celtic witch said to be the avatar of the goddess Brigid, who shared her name. According to my ancestors' writings, she gifted us with Brigid's blessing, a seed that grew into this fairy tree, a plant that in myth serves as a home to the fae and a portal to their world. From here they've delivered me protection, as well as more basic gifts, shown themselves as phantom lights, inexplicably out-of-place livestock, and other strange pure white animals. I've also inherited the tools to combat the malicious of them, including mysterious herbs, bells, hag stones, and curved sharpened pieces of iron, as well as antique photographs of both the hobgoblin and changeling once held in St. George's Keep, the Sons of Man's secret dungeon of monsters. The Fae remain one of the more active supernatural phenomena in modern times, still roaming in the wild parts of the world. Was this witch's ladder prepared by the spirit of a long-past Celtic witch to protect me from an encroaching phantom vampire, delivered by the Fae from this tree? After my first encounter with this creature, this happened.
Praying to the fairy tree, trying to communicate with Brigid, my ancestor's ally, and I swear I heard a woman say, "It's gonna be okay." I looked, I thought I saw the silhouette of a woman standing out around here. There's nobody here.
Brigid was a Celtic witch from the 19th century, said to be an avatar of her namesake goddess. She teamed with my ancestor, Harold Oldrey, to face off against the devil on Blackhulla Island. She gifted the family a true fairy tree. More recently came this.
I'm sure you can hear that. Something is tapping on the outside of this window. I'm sure Holy sh...
This witch's ladder was left for me nearby, and several mushroom rings sprouted up around the tree. And I'd discover that the phantom vampire had returned again. He seems interested in the container my ancestors guarded holding cursed relics. The Fae activity pushed me to check on it, held under the house, to find the box completely burned away, seemingly overpowered by the abundance of dark items within. With all protections on the box destroyed, this creature seems closer than ever, though, like Brigid, he has a history with our bloodline.
Changelings. Leopold Oldrey, the last of the Oldrey line of monster hunters, my great-grandfather, believed them to be the greatest remaining supernatural threat to mankind, though what he described differed greatly from the fairies of legend. For unknown reasons, they mimic human form with obvious glaring flaws, immediately detectable. Leopold believed this was to intentionally incite a kind of horror that sounds like what today we describe as the uncanny valley, with pale, white or gray skin, oddly colored or fully black eyes with dark circles around them, struggling with human words or movements. In the 1960s, Leopold came to believe the reported Men in Black phenomena were these same entities. Much of what at the time is attributed to UFOs was believed to be Fae in the past, like changelings. Near the end of his life, he believed the same about the black-eyed kids. These realizations were particularly troubling to him because they were almost always reported in groups, something unheard of in most credible changeling lore. It was an evolution of the breed. Leopold worried greatly about what this change could mean. Even the Oldreys had no idea what these creatures did to their victims or why. If you're interested in knowing more about the Oldrey line of monster hunters, I've already written one book about them that you can read now.
Bogart, Hobgoblin, Hob, and more. These elf or fae entities go by many names. The hunter Harold Oldrey learned much of these creatures from his ally Brigid, a Celtic witch and supposed avatar of her namesake goddess, who was deeply associated with the many fae realms. Many on live tell me the eyes of this photo move, a lingering element of the magical entity. Often called house spirits, it is believed that if gifted things like cream and sugar, they will perform various chores around the house and property. These agreements inevitably turn once the fickle Bogart feels cheated or insulted. resulting in horrific paranormal activity akin to a poltergeist or demonic haunting. To ward them off, several types of herbs, brass bells, and pieces of raw iron worked best. Some forms of exorcism worked as well. These already dangerous entities are also often confused with imps, a demonic, much more malicious creature born of occult sorcery, summoned from hell by dark practitioners to serve as familiars and terrorize their chosen targets. Both entity types were once held in the dungeon, St. George's Keep. See an enhanced version of the photo of those imps here, as well as an enhancement of this photographed Bogart that seemingly still holds a piece of its spiritual essence.
One of the oldest monsters of Nordic myth, trolls, are fearsome and varied creatures, seen here in a photo from St. George's Keep. Norse mythology describes them as a diverse variety of strange monsters, some like large brutish men, others many-headed terrors, others still godlike, mountain-sized spirits. Other folklore specifies the smaller of them, nasty, roughly human-sized man-eaters, also written about in the Oldrey family journals, where they state that these creatures may have led to the downfall of all supernatural terrors, when an old berserker mercenary found himself hunting a group of them through their deep cavernous realms, leading him to form a company of similarly seasoned warriors. These men came together for the express purpose of hunting down and eradicating the many supernatural monsters and entities terrorizing the region, all in devout service to the god Odin. This company of monster hunters continued for centuries, eventually forming a large part of the original Sons of Man. Changelings. Horrific creatures that crudely approximate human form, like this one held in St. George's Keep. I've spoken before on the writings about them from my monster hunter ancestors. Many are familiar with the old legends about them replacing small children, but there have long been reports of such creatures in adult forms as well. I believe these entities are the reason for the phenomenon known as the Uncanny Valley. In recent times, some have come to believe these creatures are skinwalkers from Navajo legend, but based on indigenous sources, this is not the case.
Skinwalkers, or as the Navajo call them, Yinaldushi, which translates to "with it he goes on all fours," is a type of harmful witch that has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal.
Changelings, in contrast, are wholly inhuman. My great-grandfather believed the men in black to be these same creatures, and later believed the same of the black-eyed kids phenomenon as well. He greatly feared what they may eventually become.
The black-eyed kids are one of the most terrifying modern urban legends. Sickly, pale children with, as the name implies, jet black eyes. The stories vary, but in general they show up very late at night into the early morning, seeking out people alone in their homes, or possibly out late at night at a gas station or in their parked car, then trying with increasing desperation to get as close as possible, begging to be let into the home or vehicle, preying on the human nature to help a lost child. Reports claim that if one makes the mistake of allowing them in alone with them, that their very life energy will begin to drain away, causing a dread-filled lethargy that quickly advances to full-on paralysis. And it is believed beyond that, the loss of life. A popular belief is that they are somehow related to gray aliens, and there are similarities between them and early reports of the men in black, though my great-grandfather, the hunter Leopold Oldrey, believed them related to the changeling creature of Celtic mythology, an entity related to the Fae that mimics human form in a way that doesn't quite pass. Much of what today is attributed to extraterrestrial beings in the past was considered Fae activity. I also believe that these pale gray monstrosities are the reason for the phenomenon we call the Uncanny Valley.
Ghouls are a race of creatures that mimic dead human form. Based on the writings of the Oldrey hunter line, they took this form to mask themselves among the cemeteries of mankind, where they would gluttonously feed on the remains of those buried therein. The Oldreys noted the signs of a ghoul infestation, first and foremost being the disturbance of cemetery earth, or the movement of gravestones, strange inhuman cries in the night, and most dramatically, sightings of walking corpses. Some variants of the creatures in Central Europe took slightly less decomposed forms, leading to them being confused for some type of vampire. But unlike vampires, ghouls have never been human. They merely approximate our form. To ward them off, you must sprinkle blessed salt or shavings of iron rust onto the bodies of those buried in the cemetery. Place a nightly caretaker to watch over the graves. It's even said a life-size sculpture can be enough to ward away the timid creatures. In the event of a heavy, violent infestation, a cleansing fire is recommended. Looking closely reveals the imperfections of their mimicry. Take the closest look yet at this filtered and AI-enhanced photo.
Tonight I want to clear up some confusion I'm seeing when it comes to the lower level demonic imps versus the fey creatures known as hobgoblins. These get confused a lot when I show these on my page. Every time I show this photo of the imps, I get a lot of comments telling me, no, those are actually fae or fairies or some kind of goblin. And while I can understand because they look kind of similar, these are very, very different, much more malicious creatures. These things would never be helpful to you, whereas the hobgoblin you can kind of deal with. Now, while the imps would be helpful towards whatever kind of occultists summoned them initially, these are very vile, angry, rude little creatures that want nothing more than to cause pain and suffering, like all demonic entities. They would absolutely attack and torment even the ones that summoned them if they were able to break free of whatever the connection is that holds them. These specific imps were held prisoner in St. George's Keep using some kind of magical binding sigils that would hold demonic entities in place. Now, these hobgoblins are some type of fae-type creature. They enter homes. Sometimes they're referred to as house spirits. These are the ones where you can leave cream or honey, and maybe they'll do chores for you. But they are also incredibly, incredibly dangerous, because as soon as they feel insulted, or they're just no longer satisfied with what you're giving them, they can be just as menacing and just as tormenting as the imps. Now, there are practitioners who claim to be able to maintain peaceful interactions with them indefinitely, but I would not risk it, and I'm not sure of the validity of those claims. Again, this specific entity was a prisoner in St. George's Keep. I'm unsure of the means they used to hold it in place, but I have been told by many of my followers that while looking at these images during lives, the eyes appear to move. I don't really give my opinion on that, but I'll let you be the judge. I'm going to be doing more videos like this, clearing up the confusion many of my followers have between some of these creatures that superficially appear somewhat similar.
Another video supposedly showing a supernatural entity said to me by followers. See here slowed and enhanced. As always, we'll look together into the aged Oldrey family bestiary for answers as to what this creature may be. My guess would be a changeling. Inhuman creatures that poorly mimic human form, instilling a dreadful horror known as the Uncanny Valley as a means to feed on the life energy of their victims. Many modern-day sightings are mistakenly identified as skinwalkers. See more about these creatures in the Oldrey family bestiary reproduction. Other variant changeling examples include the black-eyed kids, the ferocious creatures called rakes often reported on the internet, older stories about the men in black, and the ancient myths of strange replacement infants. All these entities and more can be classified as changelings.
So here we have another crazy video purported to show another kind of paranormal creature like some of the others I've shown on here. So as always, let's go ahead and take a closer look and discuss what this could be if this video is legitimate. Now obviously this video is very short, but the reaction is so dramatic and extreme it feels pretty legitimate to me. Let's go ahead and slow it down a little bit to examine and zoom in too. Now we only see this thing for a second, but slowed down, the movement seems pretty good to me, and it's It doesn't seem like any kind of animal that I can place. Now, I have a pretty good idea of what this could be based on the information in the Oldrey family bestiary, but there is a note I want to make about it, so let's just go ahead and jump right in. The people who took this video referred to it as a duende, which, I'm Colombian on my father's side. I know the stories about those kinds of creatures. I do believe they are a type of elf or fae, similar to this hobgoblin shown here from the bestiary. They're also referred to as Bogarts, hobs, house spirits. They have many names. These creatures tend to be at least very mischievous, but while benevolent interactions have been reported, it is strongly recommended against interacting with them in any way, because that mischievousness can become very dangerous very fast. It's also possible that this is something like an imp, that are often confused with elves, but these are much more malicious, monstrous, demonic entities. Either way, it's something I would recommend not messing around with, but if you're talking about imps, this is a much, much worse situation. You don't want to confuse these things.
My grandma was from Ireland, and this is the box she left me.
Okay, so a ton of you are tagging me in this video for obvious reasons. Let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights, and we'll get into what I think about it.
Grandma was from Ireland, and this is the box she left me. Stuff you get left by your grandma. Fied leprechaun. Seen anything like this before in my life. Bottle of coins. My nana was into witchcraft. There was some other stuff.
So as my followers, I'm sure know, the reason that I'm sharing this is because this is very similar to what happened to me up to the point of having inherited things from my grandmother, even the Ireland connection through Brigid that I talk about. Let me go ahead and show those who are unfamiliar. So about 2.5 years ago, I inherited a house from my estranged grandmother, and a lot of strange things happened, really culminating in me finding this chest, inside of which I found all kinds of weapons, different strange, seemingly esoteric items, a vampire hunter's kit, all the tools, it seems, for exorcism, as well as a infamous witch hunter's book called the Malleus Maleficarum. I also found other old weapons. Here you can see laid out basically everything that I've got. While there are certain things that aren't here and other things that have to be stored differently, you can see I've got a lot of stuff. It all has crazy history. It's all written about in these notes that you see, the journals. It's pretty strange. I talk about it all over my page. So what do I think about this? I don't know. It could be fake. Those bodies look pretty weird. It's just in a box, but this is pretty interesting too. A lot of people say the same thing about me. So I don't know. I find it interesting, and I'm going to be keeping myself updated, and you guys as well. In the meantime, if you want to go through and look at some of the stuff I've been talking about, check one of my lives or just check out my page.